Hello and welcome back to the channel, heart friends and fellow students of the Great Mystery. I'm Lily Rose, and today I'm here to bring you something incredibly special. As many of you know, I have had the great fortune of learning under the master syncretist, astrotheologist, and proponent of geocentric cosmology, the great Santos bonacci, for the past couple of years. And yesterday, I had the opportunity to come together in the flesh, heart to heart, and at the kitchen table over a cup of tea, and ask Santos a couple of my personal questions related to his work. Santos has been working for many, many years with teachings aimed at dispelling confusion and deception, be it intentional or otherwise, in the discipline of religious studies, especially as it relates to astrology. And among other things, also bringing forward the physics and the science of cosmology and the way that the arising of our environment and our world takes place, okay? And so I personally am very interested in the Merkaba meditation and Merkaba mysticism as it syncretizes across all forms of mysticism. There are echoes of it in each of the disciplines, and so I'm very interested in that. And so this was an amazing opportunity for me to be able to ask Santos some of my questions directly and get answers and make sure that my scholarship and what I'm working on is on the right track. Okay, so I recorded the session for you, and I hope that you enjoy watching this presentation. I also wanted to say that my impression of Santos has always been genuine and one of true heart-centeredness, but that was definitely my impression after sitting down with him in person. And it's very clear to me that Santos wants nothing more than to see each of us, all of his students, being the stars that we came in to be. You know, he would like to see us be illuminated with the light of the cosmos, centered in the heart, and syncretized in resonant luminescence. Like light upon light, we light it up, heartbeat after heartbeat. Right? So, let's see, I was going to say, so this aspect of what we're going to be talking about is a lot centered on the left hand, the blue shift, the left hand side of turn of the toroidal motion, okay? And a lot of it is my original work. So this video is really crucial for me because it provided an opportunity for me to check that work, okay? And then it still seems like I have work to do, right? But I'm on the right track, so that's awesome. The other thing I wanted to say to you guys is that people have been hanging out here on the channel a little while know that, like, I could really use a video cinematography team. That would be awesome. So the recording of this is a little bit, yeah, it's not perfect, okay? We did lose a clip in the middle, which we tried hard to recreate, and I think we knocked it out of the park. We did a great job. We finished strong, but you'll notice at times the camera goes in and out. That's my Canon, and because there were two people in the frame, it wasn't sure what to do. So your cinematography skills are needed if you are an expert, for sure. And I also, okay, so I wanted to say that I give you guys also like a little bit of a news update on what's going on with Santos here on the West Coast. So many of you know that he's traveled to America in the last month or so. He spent some time in California and then came up here to Oregon. There was a very successful presentation in California that brought lots of inspiration to a lot of students and really started pulling in the energy for the Universal Truth School, and then another very successful presentation here in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. We had a party with Flat Earth Oregon. It was so much fun and really good people coming together, and the conversation topics have been just so high vibe, and really, really stellar friendships being formed, and a lot of good energy going on here collecting and magnetizing around Santos. So that's really beautiful. Upcoming, he has a new gig or a new lecture that's going to be happening in California. And what's really exciting to see is the students lit up in California and bringing their own talents and gifts to the table to offer to the Universal Truth School. So suddenly there are t-shirts, and I'll show you a picture of the t-shirt. I totally want one, so I want a small, please. And I'm sure you guys will like to order one too, and as soon as there's a URL link, I'm sure that will be shared. And there were some coffee mugs too, and they're putting together sort of a goodie bag for that, or the ideas to do that for that presentation, so look forward to that. There's also another upcoming lecture and workshop that's going to be happening in Costa Rica. I looked up the flyer for it, and I'll include a picture of it somewhere in this presentation. But the website is godsofamenti.com, AMENTI, and it's going to be in Costa Rica the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of November. So keep your eye out for updates on all of that. But I did just want to give you a little drop from my perspective, having been in the scene and seeing what's going on, and just kind of let you know what I know. So there you go. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put up the presentation. And at the end, I'll show a couple extra graphics, and then we'll wrap it up. So this is going to be called Blue Shift to the left-hand side. No, I said source, the untapped potential of the blue shift. I think that's a pretty good name. All right, see y'all. Okay, so we're talking about the reverse motion of the toroidal field, and the way that when you talk about the toroidal field, you make this motion with your hands, which implies that there's a reverse direction. It's not just moving in one direction, but there's a reverse direction going at the same time. You're even doing two sides like that. And so my question to you has to do with the physics of that reverse motion, and just how, like, the sine wave is not only moving in one direction. So I'm wondering if you could expand upon how it moves in the reverse direction.
Beautiful. Right, so I like my red shift, blue shift markers.
Nice.
And black. So the best way to do it, we just do a simple graphic. Okay, so here we go. So there's a point in counter space, right? That point there, that's energy, consciousness, life, soul, everything projects from the monad.
Okay.
And these monads are little stars. We call them atoms. This is an atom. It's a point in counter space. It's not spatial.
Okay.
So it's everywhere, but locatable with your physical senses in a topos or a locus in spatial in space, but it's in counter space. It's like this computer here, say for instance, okay, this computer has a hard drive which is full of information, and yet it doesn't weigh any more when it's full of data than when it's not. It's the same weight. So that information is really not spatial. It's in counter space.
Okay.
But it's very powerful information. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's full of great information. You know, remember Zoolander? When he smashed the computer, he's trying to get the information out of the computer looking for it. Okay. So that's what these stars are. That's what atoms are.
Okay.
Conventional science will tell you that atoms are empty. So they're just points of energy. They're light beams. Yeah? But these light beams, the monad cannot do anything in a physical material construct without projecting the energy out of it.
Oh, okay.
Right? And it's always projected as a point line. So you never get just lines in space like that. The energy will not project out of this point in counter space only in one direction. It will always do red shift first, in a spiral, in a helix. That's not a spiral. Well, that's a spiral, two-dimensionally.
Right.
But we call these, it's like DNA. It's DNA.
Right.
And you know what? Dang, I should have put blue on top. I need to be more accurate.
Because blue shift goes first. It's always blue first, right?
Well, I always use man is the measure of the universe.
Right.
So look at your woman, and have a look at your subtle body. You've got red chakra at the bottom of your torso, Torus, and you've got blue chakra at the top of your torso, Torus. See, so, and the center is the solar plexus. It's actually in the heart because it's the middle chakra, okay? But the center of blue shift, red shift, is here. Yeah, that yellow chakra is really like more akin to white. So this point here is white light, because only white light is magnetic. No other light is magnetic. Red shift, blue shift is electromagnetic. Dielectricity is black light. So that white light, it's known to scientists, does not vibrate. It's radiating.
Okay.
It's a pulse, and it's magnetic. And that pulse always perturbates out radially, radiation, on a longitudinal wave. So that pulse goes like this. There's a plane of inertia here, and it ripples out. And that ripple generates a wave, and this is the wave. So as the energy goes, always energy goes like this, in two directions, always. So the monad becomes the dyad, becomes the triad, and then jumps to the tetrad, which is, yeah. So you'll notice I did redshift a lot bigger because this is radiation. This vibration is called radiation, and this is gravitation, because this is left turning and going, converging and centripetal. So before, I should have, when I did red first, I should have done it below, because the torso, man is the measure of the universe, teaches you that redshift is below, hell is down, blue sky, heaven is up. Okay? So, when white light decides to create a toroidal field and give form in the material world, projects outward of itself, immediately becomes a dyad. But the first light that comes from white light is red shift, red.
Okay.
And then immediately, instantly, blue follows. And then these make a green. So, did I get a green? Let's have a look. Yep. So there's your heart chakra with 12 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Because why did I go back to the heart chakra? Well, because we need to include what's beyond blue shift, which is indigo and violet. So let's make this all pretty, shall we? Great whiteboard I've got here. So this is makeshift because, you know.
It's the whiteboard of requirement.
Yeah. Alright, so let's go slide. So this is pulsating. And this is the plane of inertia of a toroidal field. Now you see here, this takes the shape of an hourglass. I'm going to make it wider at the bottom because blue light is a higher frequency. Sorry, That's not a very good wave. And red light, this will be better, is a longer wave.
Okay.
All right? So, and this part of the torus field will always be 0.618 times bigger than this. So this will be 1, and this will be 1.618, the ratio.
Oh, okay.
It's the phi ratio.
Right.
Phi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or phi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
good. And then what happens now is you have a toroidal field, no particles, and that's an atom.
Okay.
So, neutron, the block wall, the plane of inertia. Because as the red light comes out centrifugally diverging, and then it comes back around to this point here, then it turns blue. The proton becomes an electron.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so when scientists are looking at the electron, and they say, oh, so many electrons, they are only looking at half of the toroidal field.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you that a carbon atom supposedly has 6 neutrons, right? 6 protons and 6 electrons.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because the field is expressing itself in the number of 6, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because of all how much power it has and what the frequency is. Because all the elements, thank you, Walter Russell, are frequencies. High frequency, low frequency. Right?
Right.
Good. Let me not jump ahead of myself because it's important to do this step by step. So, Walter Russell also taught that. He was teaching this model primarily, the blue vortex and the red vortex, right? But what you can see here is clearly you can see an hourglass. This is an hourglass because this is time. It's pulsating from here. Every atom does this, right? So you can see this is chronos. This is temporal, tempo, time, chronos, Saturn, Satan, the world of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Satan rules the earth. Satan rules the air. Okay? And this is Satan in here, old man time. And this is his partner, his wife, space, Chronos and Rhea, area.
Oh, yeah.
Freya, Maria, it's space. She is spatial, she is magnetic and expands. Magnetism, the female white light. You see the black and white yin and yang? That's masculine. Yeah? This is feminine. This is yes. White light is feminine. It moves. Mag means to move. Magnetism, magnitude. This is, see, white light generates this red shift, blue shift. So it knows how to make space. Dielectricity, black light, that's resting light. It doesn't move. Rest, motion. Inertia, force.
Force is feminine.
Yes. It's not masculine.
Huh.
It's not. Masculine energy is resting. It's the black light. That's in the ultimate, in its highest archetypal
It's like the Ein
principal position. Yes.
The
Ein Sof.
Okay.
This is the Ein Sof.
Okay.
Yeah, but they are a partnership. This is Krishna, black, This is Radharani, golden white light.
Huh, okay.
It's always, Krishna is dielectricity. Krishna means to rest, and black. And that's why you see Christ black and Madonna black, because it's talking about black resting light.
Okay, because that's what I was just about to ask. Do we see the feminine personified as that black light? Because I was thinking about the black Madonna and the dark goddess, and so I was thinking about that. So that's what's confusing me. But of course, the white light gives birth to the twins. The female gives birth to the twins. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
So you will see the black feminine, you'll see it, but ultimately the highest archetype is white. The pure virgin of white light, Mary, means magnetism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And Joseph's another word for Saturn. Maria is Rhea.
Okay.
So whether you take the Christian or the Greeks have Saturn and Rhea, time and space.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the Christian scripture, or Christian Greek scriptures, you've got Joseph and Mary are the mothers of the Lord. Well, Seth is Set, is Sat, is Saturn, is Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Time
Mm-hmm.
and space create a child, the Saviour, Jesus, which is this, the form, the Word made flesh. This is it.
Right.
This is how the Word is made flesh. Okay, so
Still, though, so do you think that there are some systems where they personify the whole thing as feminine, like the goddess cultures and religions? Because I'm thinking like about Hecate, and that's all that blackness, like Troma, Troma Nagmo, she's real black, Sati and Kali. So
the black goddess. It's just flipping this over, because through creation, everything expands and dilutes. The source is always pure and unchanging.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Masculine, feminine. Krishna means rest, so does Christ. Christ, crest, rest.
Mm-hmm. And that's why the feminine would be evil, too, like taking the apple and doing the thing, because she's trying to make the world, trying to make the illusion by birthing the twins.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you get it into the phi ratio, you get it like balanced on the chariot, then you're doing the longitudinal and you're resting in that magnet.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Different than I learned. Thank you.
Yeah. So really, this is dielectricity and this is magnetism.
Okay.
Because magnetism is force and motion. Inertia and acceleration is dielectricity. And when these two create abrasion against each other and they start agitating to make a wave, red shift, blue shift is born. Radiation, gravitation, fission, fusion,
Okay.
proton, electron, divergence, convergence, force and motion, inertia and acceleration. This is accelerating back into the black hole. This is going back into black light to rest, and then it's being forced out as white light. But white light cannot do anything or go anywhere in the physical world. It has to start vibrating. And that is that polarization of light, red shift, blue shift.
Mm-hmm.
That's this. So that's this hourglass. This is the hyperbola. So the Greek word hyperbola Bel. This is Bel, the god Baal, Baal, because this is where everything begins. The sun, the moon, the stars, atoms in your body, everyone has this Baal in them. The Greek word hyperbola means the hourglass. It means hyperbolistic, projecting, thrusting out. That's why when you exaggerate, you're speaking in hyperbole. hyperbole. I told you 1,000 times, Louis, don't write on this book. And I only told you, what, twice? And you think, well, that's a hyper. Stop hyperbolizing with me, or stop speaking bull. Because bull, like a papal bull or anything, it's the word of God. So that word is actually sonoluminescence. It's sound and light. See, sound is going to be rippling in waves from that outward. That's magnetism. It radiates. It doesn't vibrate. It just goes. If you throw a pebble in the pond, you'll see this circle, then it gets bigger. That's magnetism. Its radial wave does never diminish. It always travels outwardly forever. And as it does that, propagating through the medium, air, ether, fire, whatever, it's going to encounter resistance. And that resistance will go like this. Red shift, blue shift.
Right.
But that wave there, it's temporal. It's not real, it's empty. It makes form, but it diminishes, it decays. It's a wave that decays. So this radial wave, radiation, propagating along this plane of inertia, the block wall, in every torus field, is now generating this red shift, blue shift. So you see, this is the quadrad. So monad, dyad, tetrad, including the neutron and the block wall. Now that's the trinity because we've got neutron, proton, and electron. But space projects out in 4 directions, or 6, but 4 as the tetrad, or the tetragrammaton, or the tetrahedron. Fire, the polyhedra of fire. It's got tetra in it. It's about 4, and that's and that fire is this, right? Because how do we know? For proton. So what I said was this is the neutron, dielectricity, black light, really, black hole. That's a black hole and a white hole. It's a black sun and a white sun. All atoms are like this. They're black and white. Black is the light going out back into counter space. White is the light coming out to make your torso torus. And red shift, blue shift is the form that you have. So this veil becomes phal. And it's the phallus. That's the phallus, the obelisk. And this is the torus, is the uterus. Uterus. And that's feminine, space, male phallic, time. So here you have, why do they have maypoles? Why do they have the Holy Cross in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit? Why? Because your body is the cross. Yeah? That's the tomb. There you go. That's the letter T for your anatomy, because the light is entombed in the body. You come from a womb, and then you end up in a tomb. Right? And this is the tomb. It's anatom. Atom. All is atom. All is atom. This is the tomb. Tomb, you can say atom or Adam. Same thing. So, Tom, without the A, Tom means twin. You see, because all atoms are twins. The dyad, duality, the demiurge. See, this is the source God creator. This is the demiurge who's red Satan and blue Krishna, good and evil, cold and hot, feminine, masculine, or vice versa. They've got boys. No, it's true. Girls are pink, And boys are blue. There you go, got it right.
You
Roses are red.
This is I've had a problem, and you just syncretized it. It's like my brain's going. Yeah.
This does everything for you, Brian. This
Right.
brings you into direct knowledge.
But why is the blue pillar the moon? And I would associate the moon with the goddess. You know, so when you look at Jacqueline and Boaz, the moon is above the blue pillar.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that's what threw me off with that. I mean, I think it's just conflations of I think you can look at it both ways. And that when you cross the hemispheres with the red and blue, there's a lot of confusion in the occult world on this.
I know. See, blue shift is also here. It's also here. So there's not just blue here and red here.
Uh-huh.
There's also red coming out at the same time. Yes.
Right.
But if that were so, you know, you wouldn't be having legs at the ground all the time. You'd be, you know, upside down as well. You know, you'd be like you have to have that direction. So a magnet, rather than having poles, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got red shift, blue shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious what's going on with magnets. If you look at the work of Ken Wheeler, he puts magnets under a ferrocell. Okay, a ferrocell. So it's a magnetic viewing film, basically, with liquid, metallic liquid in it. So it brings out the light. So it's got LED lights all around the ferrocell, and he just puts it on all these magnets. And what you do is you see these torus fields.
Mm-hmm. I saw life springing out from it with the pig nose. It was amazing. It was like all of a sudden you actually saw it become to animate life, animating the holograph.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing work.
Yes. And so, I found a sick. So, okay, where were we going with that? So I was going to say something about what were you just talking about?
I'm still thinking about masculine being blue.
Yes.
So I'm still trying to wrap my mind around
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so from source, that's the principal archetype.
Mm-hmm.
But they do flip over. So,
Right.
and the same with red shift, blue shift. You see, this is red is right turning energy. It's right turning proton. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Okay, proton. Yeah, this is a proton. Let's call this a proton. I'm going to put the R right over here because we're going to insert a letter in here to understand what exactly is a proton. Proton, red, electron, blue. Let's do it like this, eh? L is liquid. R is radiation or fire. Because once you put a Y in here, you begin to understand what a proton is. It's fire and water, the two agents of creation. It's a pyroton, shortened to proton. Redshift, right turning energy, and this is left turning because it has an L in it. L and R, right? And this is left turning. And Pierluigi Ina teaches this. He's an Italian genius who was a colleague of Marconi. He was also teaching that the Earth is stationary, and he proved that the Earth is stationary. And he was teaching that there's two energies, there's solar and Earth. And the sun is moving through the ether, perturbating the field above our heads on the stationary Earth, and the energy is right turning. He studied the sun for 30 years. Then he says that the Earth receives that right turning light and then sends it back left turning, blue shift, going back up to heaven. The sun is bringing red, and he says that the theatre, the Earth, in between these two fields is where all creation manifests. Between the sun, Uranus, in other words, it can be Uranus, and Gaia, the Earth, and they are husband and wife. Now Uranus is the firmament, the eighth sphere, above terra firma. So Gaia is terra firma, and Uranus is firmament. You see, both of those terra firma, firmament, are what keep the 7 planets underneath spinning and creating all the destiny of all humans in the world. And this is how it works. It's so simple. There's 3 things you need to remember. The neutron, proton, and electron, in that order. Okay? Like this. Dielectricity. That's the neutron. Magnetism, its partner, because these are, whoops, I did it again. Mag, to move. It's feminine, white, pure goddess. Rest and motion. And when they move, they create their only begotten Son, the Word that was made flesh. L. See, the real name of Jesus, was that the camera? No. So the real name of Jesus is Emmanuel.
Oh, right.
And his girlie, she is Magdalene. Magnetism and electricity. Okay?
It's a good story.
Yeah. Because all the stories...
Okay, so we had a little camera mishap and we lost the end of our conversation. So we're going to try to recreate that and put some of the things that are on the board, kind of explain those a little bit more.
Yeah, okay, so since I don't remember what exactly I covered, I know I haven't covered this, and I guess this and this. So, the bowl, being the most important central figure here, is actually the arbol, or arbor. So you see, here you see how this is the same word for tree in Spanish and Latin, but it's always this tree here, R and L being interchangeable. Remember, right turning, red shift, left turning, blue shift. And then we put this up. Okay.
Right, because I think I was having cognitive dissonance still, trying to understand how the blue and the moon, like the blue column of Joachim and Boaz, and how the blue went with the moon. And so I was still like trying to connect blue to water and feeling that was feminine, and you were going to go and you put this up here to kind of try to talk about it a little bit more from another angle. Do you remember that?
Right.
Okay.
That's why up here, the interchangeableness of these two co-principles, co-eternal principles, is more natural. Here, and more distinct. It's usually at the highest level before its emanations and expansions. It's always feminine magnetism and masculine dielectricity, and always the Christ or Krishna is black, and his girl she's white and virginal and pure magnetism, Magdalene. So you've got Jesus' real name is Emmanuel, and his lady is Mary Magdalene. I think we covered that, but
right.
It's always going back to this Trinity. So why you'd have cognitive dissonance when you see why is blue loving and red harsh, or vice versa, Krishna's blue, Satan is red. Well, this yin and yang here, this is the material one. This one here, this is the supernal one. Infernal, supernal. So this is the world of the demiad urge, the dyad. This is the monad world.
Okay.
Here. But this here, this happens here, after it expands, you see. And so this is the South Korean flag. They have this, red, and they have the 4 I Ching, which represent the 4 elements. So if you look at it as this is masculine and this is feminine, because fire is, in astrology, is masculine, and water, being blue, is feminine, well then when you go to the other 2 elements, earth and air, well then you see how they flip, because now air is masculine, it's blue sky, and the earth is red, Adama in Hebrew, meaning red earth. So we have now, they're flipped over. You see, so in this world of 4 elements. There's not 4 elements here.
Now, so this is different than what we talked about before, but now I just caught something. So the fire and water are the spiritual elements. That's why we take initiation by fire and by water, right? And those two are reflecting it one way. And the more earthly elements, air, when we take our first breath, and earth, are seeing it the other way. So I think it's just the mirror image, and so I think that I was trying to ask you, why did they put the moon above the blue pillar? And I think we talked about how different mystical traditions have gone different ways with this. When you cross the hemispheres, it gets confusing and people understand it different ways. But there's also the idea that the stars looking down or the planets looking down are embodying it in mirror image from us.
Yes.
That hermetic symbol.
It has to flip. For instance, hydrogen, what's water made of? Water is feminine. Hydrogen and oxygen. Now, both of those are very flammable.
Okay.
But see, when they combine, they flip polarity and become non-flammable and feminine.
Uh-huh.
You see?
Uh-huh.
So this is what's going on here. Fire and water are the 2 active agents, or the 2 active humours in astrology, because they are hot and cold. But earth and water, earth and air, they are passive, patients. They're not agents of creation. So fire and earth, fire and water, they get everything done. They are the agents and they are active.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the air element and the earth element are passive, so they enable the creation. They let the fire and water pass through them.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
I see.
So it flips over.
Yeah.
Everything flips over when it expands.
Mm-hmm. Would you still put the moon above the blue pillar, or would you switch it?
I would. Red moon, blue moon. You got red blood moon. You've got a blue moon.
The
sun is always depicted as blue and red as well. Red shift, blue shift. Mars is red. Venus is green, blue. It
goes either way, and I think that's when Molly came in and said about how the moon was receiving the sun's light, and so there's even a confluence and a unity between that, and that was her point, which was a beautiful point. So,
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think I asked you after this point about I asked you if a sine wave if it would be a full sine wave this way around and a full sine wave this way, or if half would be going this way and half this way.
Both are true. Half going out that way, and then so one would be going this way, and the other one would be going that way. But then it has to contract again. It has to come back. Whatever went out has to come back. So it can never be a half a wave. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's the whole wave this way, because this is.
If you look at the Stan Tenen Dance of the Hebrew Alphabet on YouTube, Stan Tenen, Hebrew scholar, he shows how around the torus field, which he uses as a model of an apple, there are 12 segments. And that's it, and that's what I teach. And he shows how you do it with an apple model of the torus field, and then he shows that the sine wave goes around here. It goes once around the donut.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dance of the Hebrew Alphabet. That would be another way of looking at it and understanding it. But the point about this is that either way you look at it, whether you look at it, the bull or the tor, see, I call this the Torus bulls, because both words mean bulls and cows and cattle and ovine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it as a torus field, then it's a tori. So this could be a tori as well, with the word Torus in it. But it's also the bowl or the ball. This is boring through matter. So it's a ball. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many words that come from here. It's just astounding. I've done many presentations on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, imagine a donut like that. It's cut down that way. It's like we're looking into like those big arrows.
Yes.
It's like
That's
looking
right.
into the donut.
Yep.
And the other part's invisible to us. And that's kind of how it is in the reflection world. I think you can't see the flip side. And right there, if you look into it, you can see the donut center. The perpetrator field is, and then like, boom, donuts are coming. You took a big bite out of half of it.
Yep.
So it goes that way also.
Well, that's right. Well, these are reciprocating and processing.
Yeah.
So not only are they doing this, they're
Yeah.
also going around.
Yeah. and through and
It's called the Lamilla frequency, or electromagnetic retardation.
And then Dan Winter teaches that if we get these motions in phase conjugated, synchronous, like if we get them synced up in a phase conjugated ratio, that we create a longitudinal wave. So this is why I'm so interested in the backwards motion, because I think that it's an untapped potential.
Right, let's do that. So remember we discussed how all of this is going back to God's source. So we've got the source and the force. When they say let the force be with you, that's magnetism. And that's what those what are they called? Lightsabers, yeah. That's magnetism, that's the force.
Oh, right.
But the ones who are tapped into this energy, they have the force, dielectricity, because it's resting, it's still. It's not moving, it's still. This is power that you can use, that is used, this is the usable. So one is power, one is powerful, one is attractive, one is attraction, one is, I'm trying to think of all the analogies of how this works, but what happens is when you incarnate, you come out into the world and you have through a Torus, and you get a Torus torso. So this is how you come out into the world, and then everything goes back. This is where you reach virtually, at your middle age, and then you start going back to source. You know how people, when they get older, they're doing things to get back to heaven.
Right.
To the grandchildren, and then, right. So, but this is power. This is force. This is going to be your source. So when you meditate, you go into your heart, and you still these other waves, and you do this radiation wave, and you connect with everything in the universe, right? You're drawing from that force. And that's what you're talking about, because whatever wave goes out, there's always one coming in, and then going out in the opposite direction as well. But it's that coming in energy, which Schellberger calls the implosion cold energy, that is really most representative of this standing wave. It's this, because it's going back into it. This is coming away from it. That's why this is all to do with red, rage, radiation, radioactivity. This is radioactivity. Rebel, all these very harsh R words. Now the reason being is because these two letters are called the two liquids. You see, and they are interchangeable. This is the lateral liquid. This is the rhotic. So basically, this redshift energy is like this, pulsating. This is the only letter in the alphabet which actually restores and goes back to that radiation wave pulsating. That's why the letter R pulsates. Whereas this one, it's a flat line, yeah? And that's they are the two sounds of electricity. You listen to electricity and you you'll hear the pulse in it, and then you'll hear it flatline. And this is what's going on. These are the two halves of creation: fire, proton, pyroton. The proton is nothing other than the pyroton, and this is liquid. L.
Right. And we were talking about how if you can, the idea that our mind is very well traveled around this right path, around moving the sine wave directly in the right way. Like we all, that's like a lot of people are right-handed. Like our minds are pretty solid on that. But this backwards moving motion, not so much. It's sort of haven't explored it as much. And then I was talking about how, like, if you had a birth imprint that was a sine wave going this way, then you would also have a sine wave going the other way at the moment of birth, right?
That's right.
And that hasn't been explored a lot in scholarship in astrology, but it's an interesting concept that theoretically makes sense, right?
Yes.
And I think we were also talking about just the idea of that the left moving astral
Mhm.
body, because it's the moon one with the tower, and the right moving is like the etheric body, the sun one, and that there's something to be said for getting those wheels moving at a phi ratio in the heart space. I think I think we talked about this at the party that one night.
Yeah.
And I asked you guys, what do you think you do? Or I asked the group, and that people had great answers, and they said, I think it's spontaneous. Like, I don't think you have to like meticulously be like, I'm gonna spend this one 30 and this one 20 or whatever. Like, I think you just come into the heart and it naturally happens.
Yes, that's right. So that's where you will find your power when you meditate and you go into stillness. You'll find this black light, you know. That's why you close your eyes, everything's black, and it's still, you know. Whereas white light, you want to see things. It's moving. It makes you want to see things. Dark light puts your eyes to rest. Therefore, you use your third eye. So, and that's the eye of the bull. The eye of the bull. The bull's eye. Yeah? And so when you go into the heart, the core, right here, then you can draw from this energy. This is the future. This is the past. And this is the now. So that's where the now is, along that plane. You won't find it in the brain. You won't find it in the generative system. You won't find it in the power center. You won't find it in the liver and kidneys doing all these vibrations. But you will find it right here, you know, on this plane. And heart, this is the plane of heart, earth, theatre. It is, that doesn't really work as nice. Anyway, you can see that that's
Right.
TH, E, throw in another T, and heart becomes theatre. So it's here, along that plane. Once you understand that longitudinal plane and radiation is coming from your heart, then you can be centered. And you can draw from this energy, which is really the past. Because remember, this wave is going into the future. It has to be, because it's making the future. It has to be redshift.
Okay.
Yeah. And past, and this is past because it's going back to cause. You know, and where it's timeless. Here is time. Hence, you see all the sand is pouring through the centre of here, and then it's falling down to the bottom. Then you turn the hourglass around, etc. So there's your time-space continuum.
Right.
And this is the form that every atom, every sun, moon, every human, every animal, it's all this. They've all got an anatomy. There you go.
All right. I think that was a good recap of where we were at. Thank you. Thank you for recapping.
Thank you.
So we can finish. Yes.
Thanks, sister.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.